Global webinar. Today our title is who we are, and what can we do for you? My name is Laura Gousset. I'll be the webinar presenter today along with Dr. Cynthia Fox. And we will introduce ourselves in just a moment here. Next slide. So our global headquarters of LSVT Global is in Tucson, Arizona. And so anytime you may have called our office or emailed us, this is where we are located. This picture here was actually taken last week in sunny Tucson, where it was about 75 degrees and warm. Perhaps some of you in our listening audience are from the Arizona area and have enjoyed this lovely weather. And in the picture you'll see Dr. Fox on the right, myself in the middle, and Angela Halpern, who's one of our LSVT Loud instructors and our Chief Clinical Officer of LSVT Loud. And so we had a lovely week with some meetings in Arizona. And after that, we'll go to the next slide, I returned home to my snowy home in Lexington, Kentucky. And so many of you might be listening from the East Coast and suffered this severe storm last week where we got 1 to 2 feet of snow. Luckily now it has melted and we're all enjoying some warmer temperatures this week, and I hope that you are too. So I myself am Chief Clinical Officer of LSVT BIG for LSVT Global. I'm a physical therapist and also one of the training and certification faculty for the LSVT BIG program. Dr. Cynthia Fox is one of our co-founders of LSVT Global and the Vice President of Clinical Operations, and she also serves as faculty for both LSVT Loud and LSVT BIG training and certification workshops. So we thank you for taking some time out of your day today to join us. Today's webinar is going to be a little bit different than our other webinars that we've had in the past when it's focused on a specific topic related to Parkinson's disease. Today we want to give you some highlights of who we are as an organization, what we did in 2015, and our plans for the future as well. So next slide. So first I'm going to go over some logistics for the webinar. Perhaps you've joined one of our webinars and you're a webinar expert, but if you haven't joined a webinar before, we want to give you some information on how this works. Sorry about my ringing phone in the background. So there are a few ways that you can ask questions during the webinar. One is to raise your hand, and on your control panel you might see a hand icon. When you see the hand icon, you can click on it and we'll unmute your microphone, let you know that you are being called upon, and you can ask your question out loud. The second way that you can ask a question is to type in the question box on your control panel, and you can see that question box towards the bottom, and the control panel is on the right side. So when we see your question being read, we will read it out loud so that the group can hear it, and we'll answer your question out loud. The third way is that you can email us at any time by emailing info@lsvtglobal.com. And if you think of a question after the webinar, we're always really happy to answer those questions. So here's the further plan for the webinar. We're going to go over a brief review on some highlights from 2015. We're going to talk about an overview of all the services and resources offered to people with Parkinson's and the public, and we're going to give you a live demonstration from our website on how to access all of this great information. At the end, we're going to talk about a summary of new developments planned for 2016 and beyond, and we will leave some time to address your questions and comments at the end. Next slide. So now I'm going to turn over to Cynthia, who's going to do poll question number 1.
Thank you, Laura. Welcome, everybody. We're delighted to have you here. And one of our new features in our webinars this year are to have some interactive polling questions. So you should now see on your screen our first poll question, which is this your first LSVT Global webinar? So you should be able to now answer that question, and we'll see if everybody can vote. So we'll give it just a few minutes and then I'll share the results with you. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll. I'll share the results. And it looks like that many of you are new to our LSVT Global webinars, and a few of you are repeat repeat attendees. So that's great. For those of you who are new, we're thrilled to have you with us. For those of you who've been with us before, welcome back. This webinar today is going to be a great introduction, not only to our webinar series, but also many of the services LSVT Global offers. And this webinar, as Laura said, is a bit unique. Additional webinars in the future will be really content-based and specific, related to maybe questions and issues related to communication and movement in Parkinson's disease. But today is a lot of fun because we really get to introduce you to who we are. So we have our second poll question that we'll follow up with, and let's get that posted here. And that question is, we want to know a little bit about who you are. So if you can just take a moment again and vote, are you an individual with Parkinson's disease or a care partner, a certified clinician, perhaps an allied health therapist who's not certified, or somebody else? And so we'll just give you a few moments to vote as well. Okay. And it looks like we have a mixed audience here. So we have some individuals with Parkinson's disease. We have some that are care partners and some that are other. So a mystery who you are, but whoever is out there, again, welcome, and we're thrilled to have you with us. So I'll hide that poll, and we'll come back and do some more polling later on in the webinar. But what we thought we'd do and start with, in case you're very new, not only to the webinars, but to LSVT, give you just a brief background on who we are. So where did this all begin? Well, this is a picture actually of Mrs. Lee Silverman. She of Lee Silverman Voice Treatment, or LSVT. Mrs. Silverman was actually a woman living with Parkinson's disease. And when Dr. Lorraine Ramig met her family back in the late 1980s, their expressed wish at that time was, if only we could hear and understand her. So the devastating effect of Parkinson's disease on communication was very poignant to this family. At that time, there was a center in Scottsdale, Arizona called the Lee Silverman Center for Parkinson's Disease, and Dr. Lorraine Ramig and her former student Carolyn Mead Bonatati were brought in to develop the speech treatment program at that center. That center no longer exists today, but in honor of that initial development and work that was done there, our voice treatment protocol was named in Mrs. Silverman's honor, so Lee Silverman Voice Treatment. Today, we predominantly only use the acronym LSVT, and we've expanded well beyond voice treatment. So we have two evidence-based protocols. The first one, LSVT Loud, is our speech therapy protocol that was developed for people with Parkinson's disease. And again, speech therapy is where we began. A number of years ago, in collaboration with researchers from the University of Arizona, we translated the speech therapy program to a physical or occupational therapy, and we refer to that today as LSVT Big. So the Big and the Loud represent either the speech therapy or the body therapy that can be delivered, again, either by a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, or in some cases, it's a combination of the two different disciplines working together. The goals of our LSVT treatments are really to improve or restore healthier and more normal voice or movement in people with Parkinson's disease. And there's three primary tenets to each of those therapeutic protocols. The first one is that the target of treatment, whether it's LSVT Loud or LSVT Big, is amplitude. So in the speech mechanism, the voice gets soft. In the body, movements get small and slow. So we use the cue of loud, we use the cue of big to drive greater amplitude, not to make people with Parkinson's disease talk loud or move too big, but rather you have to feel loud or feel big just to achieve normal amplitude, which would be normal vocal loudness or normal movement. The second primary feature is that the treatment is intensive. It is 4 individual 1-hour treatment sessions a week for 4 consecutive weeks. So you get 16 individual 1-hour treatment sessions in 1 month's time. And that's really what's required. The neuroscience literature, neuroplasticity literature, motor learning literature all suggest that intensive therapy is the way that you can make changes that last over time. And that really is our goal. And while at first blush it might seem like a lot, it's actually simply 16 hours, and you deserve that. And it has a significant impact in terms of quality of life for many people with Parkinson's disease. The third primary feature of both LSVT loud and LSVT big is this concept of calibration. So when we initially get you to move either bigger or speak louder, it's probably going to feel funny to you. And many individuals will say, I can't talk like that. I feel like I'm shouting. Or, wow, people will think I'm crazy if I move that big. So we have to, in treatment, retrain your perception of how it feels to have normal bigness and how it sounds to have normal loudness. So at the end of that 1-month protocol, you're comfortable with using this increased amplitude, and you recognize the world around you perceives it as normal. So those are really key variables. LSVT treatment has been well studied scientifically. So we've had over 25 years of research. We've been well funded from the National Institutes of Health, over $8 million of funding during that time. Again, predominantly led by Dr. Lorraine Ramig. We've walked through many phases of research, from our initial development in the late 1980s to having a series of randomized controlled trials funded and completed, looking at the impacts of therapy. And in the more recent phases, phase 4, phase 5, our goal has been what's called translational research. And that is taking, or clinical implementation, either one of those words. And that is taking the science we developed in the research laboratory, translating it to therapists in the real world, who in turn deliver the treatments to people living with Parkinson's disease. We are passionate about having the treatment that's delivered in clinics around the world match the quality and the efficacy of the treatment we developed scientifically. So with that, at the end of the webinar, we're going to give you some key questions to ask therapists who say they're delivering LSVT treatments. Anything that deviates from the protocol and research is not LSVT, and we can't guarantee the same outcomes. So it's important that you're a savvy consumer and you're sure that you're getting the treatment that was represented by these 25 years of scientific research. So with that little bit of intro on who we are from the science, the main implementation again is done through our organization, LSVT Global. And so we are a company based in Tucson, Arizona. As Laura said, you may have interacted with us in the process of getting signed up for this webinar. And we're very proud of the implementation that we've achieved to date. So we have over 16,000 LSVT Loud certified clinicians in 69 countries, and over 10,000 LSVT Big certified clinicians in 38 countries. So we've made a good start. And we're happy about this, and each of those clinicians in turn is being able to treat patients. But Internally, we feel like we've barely scratched the surface, and we have so much more work to do so that we can continue to grow and spread evidence-based practice in the community of individuals living with Parkinson's disease. What we like to do now is sort of have a little retrospective on our year that we just completed, 2015, and share a few of the key highlights. We think it's important to share accomplishments with you as you're part of the global Parkinson community. And it's a nice opportunity for us to inform you of our activism and education as we really strive to make more people aware that there are treatments available that can improve communication and movement in people with Parkinson's disease. And as you're listening to what we did last year, and much of it will repeat again this year, keep in mind, do you live in some of these areas? Would you like to participate in any of these events? And we'll talk about ways we can make those connections as the webinar goes along. So first of all, we have been busy training last year, and we trained 2,000, let's see, it was 2,000, over 2,000 new LSVT loud clinicians and over 3,000 new LSVT big clinicians, both through our live and online courses. Our live courses, we've touched over 3,000 in 32 countries. And in our online courses, almost 2,000 clinicians from 22 countries. So we really are a global organization, and the ability now to train our therapists online, the same 12-hour course they could receive in person, has really opened up accessibility to people in many countries, or even in the US and remote locations that we may never get to with our live training courses. Something new we offered in 2015 for the first time was our ability to actually award treatment research grants to students in speech language pathology, physical therapy, or occupational therapy. As an organization, we are passionate about funding and supporting behavioral treatment research. Oftentimes it's overlooked in other funding mechanisms. We also did not limit this treatment research to LSVT. It was open to any type of treatment research in neurological populations. We're repeating our grant program in 2016, and we're very excited about that. We also support students by offering our training and certification to many students during their training programs, so they don't have to wait until they're professional to have access to LSVT Loud or LSVT Big training. Again, this training can be done either live or online, and we really offer deeply reduced registration fees so that as soon as students graduate, they can start their career by offering these therapy protocols to people with Parkinson's disease or other types of neurological disorders who may benefit from this treatment. We also support the Parkinson community, and we've provided financial support to numerous organizations. We support their work in Parkinson's disease, in rehabilitation, and medical communities. So we've been a funder of the Parkinson Action Network, the Parkinson Alliance. We're a sponsor of the Parkinson Unity Walk. We've supported the Davis Phinney Foundation Victory Summits, the ASHA Foundation, which is the American Speech Language Hearing Association, as well as a number of other smaller university clinics or state Parkinson organizations. And so these have come through grants, through funding, through sponsorships of major events, and we look forward to being able to continue to do that in 2016 as well. One of our favorite events is the Parkinson Unity Walk that takes place every year in Central Park in New York City. This was last year's event. It was a little chilly. I'm hoping for warmer weather this year, and this year's events will be on April 23rd. We'll be back there with our big and loud buttons, and if you've ever attended that event, we hope to see you again. If you've not in the past, it's a wonderful opportunity to have an amazing experience with 10,000 people in the Parkinson community. In addition to Parkinson events, as I mentioned, we also are engaged in medical community events. And so we always attend the Movement Disorder Society meeting. Last year it was in San Diego. We had a number of posters. Here's one example. This is our colleague Angela Halpern with her poster that was presented there. And we are passionate about staying connected with our movement disorder neurology community at this event as well as others throughout the year. We were thrilled to be a part of the Davis Phinney Foundation Victory Summits, and one of their first international or wildly international summits that was held in Ipoh, Malaysia. It was a beautiful opportunity, a room of over 1,000 individuals, I think, opening up information to an area of the world that has limited knowledge about things such as exercise and voice therapy that can improve quality of life in people with Parkinson's disease. We attended the American College of Rehabilitation Medicine. This was a new area for us this year where we focused heavily for many years in the neurology community. We realized many patients actually never see a neurologist or a movement disorder neurologist, and either their primary care or their physical medicine rehab doctor are their primary physicians. So we really want to bond up with this community, educate them on speech, voice, physical occupational therapies that can improve quality of life for people with Parkinson's disease. And we attended a whole host of other professional meetings around the globe in 2015. We were at various places in the US, France. Our colleagues presented at a number of events. We were in South Africa, the Philippines, Brazil. And again, we want to get the word out around the globe of the value of what we do. And then, of course, our webinar series, we launched it in full force in 2015. And we're excited to say collectively, we offered 65 free webinars that were viewed by nearly 3,000 participants. We had 26 events for our LSVT Loud clinicians, 16 for our LSVT Big clinicians, and 23 for the general public, such as the one that you are attending today. As I said, all of these were offered free of charge. They're all on demand for viewing post the live event, and were broadcast around the globe, including translations into German, French, Russian, and Portuguese. We also had a number of new publications in 2015. We had 3 articles that came out, one looking at changes in neural function. One was a nice summary of our evidence-based practice for LSVT Loud, and then some basic science work looking at vocal variability in birdsong models of Parkinson's disease. In addition, a number of published abstracts related to some of the scientific meetings that we attended. And I can tell you our research team and our writing team is deep in the trenches right now, working actively to get some new publications out from our most recently completed 3rd randomized controlled trial on LSVT Loud. All right, so with that bit of overview, I'm going to turn it back over to Laura, and she's going to talk a little bit about some of the other services that we offer to people with Parkinson's disease, family members, allied health, as part of LSVT Global.
Thank you, Cynthia. I think the overview that Cynthia provided was really nice because it really just highlights the fact that you and we are part of a global community to help people with Parkinson's disease. And some of the newer statistics say that there are upwards of 10 million people around the world that have Parkinson's disease today. And so our mission is really to not only train clinicians, but offer services and resources to people living with Parkinson's and their caregivers that are educational and helpful in improving life. So I want to go through some of those resources that we offer the general public. We're going to talk about the clinician directory, and Cynthia is actually going to give you a little live demonstration of how that clinician directory works in the moment. Cynthia said we have a whole host of webinars that we had in 2015 that are available on demand and recorded, and in 2016 soon we will post our schedule for upcoming live webinars as well. In the demonstration, she's also going to show you how to find out about patient symposiums that are in conjunction with our live LSVT Loud and LSVT Big training and certification workshops. We'll talk a little bit about Ask the Expert in just a moment, about informational lectures for your support group, and basically what we mean there is that we equip all of our LSVT Big and LSVT Loud certified clinicians with a pre-made PowerPoint lecture so that they can easily take that and present to your support group on the science and practice of LSVT Loud and LSVT Big. So if you are interested in having a support group lecture and need help finding a local clinician that can do that, we want you to contact us because we want to give you the information that you need. And lastly today, we're going to be talking a little bit about some support tools that have been designed to help you practice your homework after you have gone through LSVT Big or LSVT Loud or during your treatment protocol. So we've made LSVT Loud and LSVT Big homework helper DVDs, which we'll talk about in a minute. And we also have a software called the LSVT Companion software. We have a home version so that you can very easily practice your LSVT Loud exercises in a way that's very motivating every day from your own computer at home. So if any of those things is of interest, please email us. So here's your next poll question. Have you ever used either of the LSVT Homework Helper DVDs, either the LSVT Loud or the LSVT Big Homework Helper DVDs? We'll give you a few more seconds to respond. All right, and we're going to close that poll. And 100% of you say no. Okay, well that's very good to know. And so we'll give you a little bit more information today on the DVD. So in case you haven't gone through LSVT Big or you have, you can find out a little bit more about that. All right, we're going to have one more polling question here. It's coming up in just a moment. Have you ever used the LSVT Companion software during or after LSVT Loud treatment? Yes, no, or not applicable if you haven't gone through treatment. All right, and we'll see what we have here. Okay, so 40% no, 0% yes, and 60% not applicable. Okay. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about those features. So I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia, and she's going to give you kind of a live walkthrough our website so that you can see the clinician directory and all of the patient resources.
I will. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen, and what I'm going to do is go to the LSVT Global website. And this is our home page here. And so we'll start with the clinician directory. And so from the tab that says Find a Clinician, it will take you to this landing page. And you can choose, am I looking for a loud speech therapist, a big physical or occupational therapist, or for LSVT Loud, we also have therapists who are able to deliver the treatment via telehealth. And so that would be LSVT Loud. So for the demonstration, let's choose an LSVT Big physical or occupational therapist. And in the United States, the way the search works absolutely best is to put your zip code and your zip code only. So I'll put in my zip code in Arizona. You can decide your radius search, so you may want to start small. If you don't see clinicians, you can expand the search up to 30, 50, 70, 90, 100 miles. So I'll do 30-mile radius. You simply click I agree to the terms and select search. And then up will appear the clinicians in your area who, in this case, are LSVT Big certified. So I can now see a number of clinicians who are quite close to where I live, 3 to 5 miles away. It will give information about them, how to contact them, and you can select them all and print them so that it's easy to have on hand. If you're not comfortable with doing a web search or utilizing this tool, simply call our office and any one of our staff members will help you and do this process for you. They can then give you names and phone numbers, or they could email you this list, fax it to you, or even put it in the old-fashioned snail mail. So if this isn't comfortable for you to do, again, just give our office a call and we are always happy to help you. So that's the primary clinician search, and it's a great tool, and we've really spent the past year and a half working hard to get all of the data of the clinicians who appear updated. It's not 100% perfect yet. Sometimes clinicians move or don't update their information, but as part of our renewal every 2 years, we're getting a cleaner database so that hopefully it reduces any frustration on your part that you may call and somebody no longer works there, but the people who are on our website actually are providing services. The next thing I want to show you is under this Patient Resources tab. So when you click here, this is where you can find some information, but probably the 2 or 3 most valuable things are the patient symposiums, our free on-demand webinars, or our free live webinars. So I'll start with the webinars since that's what we're doing today. Under the free live webinars, it will simply list all of the upcoming webinars that are happening. You see the one here listed for today. We actually have our webinars scheduled out through June, and probably within the next week or so, this will be updated with all of those upcoming webinars. And you can click the registration link, log in to register, and we hope to have you all back again for a number of these throughout the year. If you can't attend the live event, we record all the webinars and they're free on demand at any time. So from this link, you can scroll through and see a variety of topics that we presented last year. Just some basic intro into what LSVT is, some myths and truths about the treatment, utilizing the therapies in advanced Parkinson disease, and the list goes on. You simply click the link, it will take you to a screen to register, and then you can watch that on demand at any time. So the wealth of information is available to you 24/7 for access, and we really hope that you can utilize that information. Finally, our patient symposiums. So as part of every live training and certification workshop that we do for professionals, either speech language pathologist or physical and occupational therapist, as part of that, we offer a 2-hour event for individuals with Parkinson disease as well as family members. This is a list of all of our upcoming events. Actually, our Irvine LSVT Loud course is sold out. It's filled to the brim. Our next one will be in Jacksonville, Florida. You can register right online or click the registration brochure to find out more information. So for example, it's going to be a 2-hour event on Sunday, February 7th. There's a 1-hour lecture followed by a 1-hour interactive session where you can actually work with the therapist and try out some of the exercises. That's absolutely optional, and you can decide on site whether you'd like to participate or not. So share this with family and friends around the country, around the globe, so that people can really take advantage of these wonderful events, and again, all offered free of charge. Let's see, the last thing will be, let's see, I've got to hide that. On our video and news link are just some nice videos about LSVT Loud and LSVT Big. So if you want to learn more about it, These are some pre and post outcomes, some samples of our companion system, some inspirational stories, and we'll be continuing to add to this video library. So just know that that's there and available for you to take advantage of to learn more. All right, Laura, I think that was the end of my demo, so I'm going to turn the show back over to you.
All right, thank you. And I think we have a polling question now. It's about Ask the Expert. So Ask the Expert is simply you emailing your specific questions that you might have about LSVT or Parkinson's disease to one of our faculty, one of our clinical experts at info@lsvtglobal.com. So if you emailed us or called us with a specific question, we'd like to know about it, and please select yes if you have and no if you haven't. All right, and 100% say no. And I know we have a fairly small listening audience today, but I just really want to emphasize the fact that we not only offer expert advice or recommendations or information, I shall say, to our clinicians that we train, but also to the people that we help as well. So although we can't give you medical advice, we can give you lots of information about the treatment protocols and how they might help you in specific situations. So please remember that general email address of info@lsvtglobal.com. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, so now that we've given you an overview of resources and opportunities that are available to you as a person with Parkinson's or someone that simply cares about Parkinson's disease, we want to highlight upcoming activities and plans for 2016. All right, and Cynthia, I think you're probably in the process of changing to the next slide. The polling information is still showing.
Sorry about that. I was changing the slides, but I didn't realize they weren't showing. So there you go.
That's okay. That's okay. So in 2016, we will continue to do live training workshops for physical and occupational therapists and online training workshops as well. And this is important for you to know if you have Parkinson's disease, because many times we hear from people that have Parkinson's that wish that they could receive treatment, but there's no one in their area. And so even if a live workshop isn't coming to your area, clinicians can easily get trained in our online workshop, and it's the same training, the same certification, and in a matter of 2 days, they could go from not treating with LSVT and being able to provide LSVT to a number of patients in the community that could benefit. We're going to talk a little bit about our professional meetings and Parkinson's events that we're planning on in 2016. We will have our grants again in 2016 for PT, OT, and speech students, just like we did in 2015. We're going to talk a little bit about our upcoming webinars, our new LSVT Loud app for clinicians and patients, our website upgrade, and our new post-discharge maintenance programs called Big for Life and Loud for Life. So a lot of exciting things that we're briefly going to go over right now. So next slide. The next 2 slides are a listing of the upcoming LSVT Loud and LSVT Big training and certification workshops. So as you know, it's just January yet, and this schedule will fill out more completely as the year goes on. But you can see that we have a number of workshops all over the world, and so keep this in mind to tell local clinicians that you might have relationships with. But also, if a workshop is coming to your area, like Cynthia said, we would love to have you join one of our free patient symposiums. Next slide. And this slide just shows the upcoming LSVT Big live training and certification workshops. So these are all posted on our website. When you click on LSVT Loud, it'll show the LSVT Loud courses and LSVT Big the same. Next slide. Some of the Parkinson's events that we will be participating in 2016 are these. We are a national participating partner in Parkinson's with Partners in Parkinson's, which is a sub-organization of the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And these events are really, really wonderful for the whole Parkinson's community. They're very much geared towards people living with Parkinson's disease, their support team, but also healthcare providers and therapists are certainly welcome to come and join in with these as well. These are free events, I believe, and we have one coming real soon, this weekend, in fact, in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you're in that area, you can come out and meet Dr. Fox, who is one of our presenters today. You can see that we have other events coming up in Tampa, in Alabama, California, Ohio, and New York. And so really, if you can, come out for part of the events. They're really great networking and learning opportunities. We're also a corporate sponsor for the Davis Phinney Victory Summits, and there are Victory Summits coming to Salt Lake City, Vancouver, and Sacramento, and we will have booths in those locations. So stop by our LSVT Global booth and come and meet us. We would love to meet you. Next slide. Cynthia talked a little bit about the Parkinson's Unity Walk in Central Park that occurs every April, and it's a very fun time. Come out and walk, meet us at our booth there, and show your support for people with Parkinson's disease. And lastly, the World Parkinson's Congress this year is in Portland, Oregon from September 20th to 23rd. This is another wonderful event, and it's really a community event. Healthcare providers such as physicians, nurses, allied health professionals, and patients with Parkinson's all come to this event. It's a great learning opportunity and really shows the global support for Parkinson's disease. Next slide. As Cynthia mentioned, we had some grants in 2015. If you know students that are in the therapy fields, please let them know this information that we're having $1,500 grants for speech, PT, and OT students again this year. And just like Cynthia said, the treatment research is on any treatment research on a neurological population. It doesn't have to be specific to LSVT big or LSVT loud. And here's the contact information. If you know of a student, they can get the grant application forms. Next slide. Here is a listing of some of the upcoming public webinars that we will be having in the first part of 2016. We're generally going to have one a month. You can see that we have one coming up on advanced Parkinson's disease. The next one is a general overview of LSVT big and LSVT loud if you are new to these treatments. In April, it's going to be more specific to addressing changes in the voice and activities of daily living in Parkinson's disease. And in May, we're going to be talking about are you getting what you should be getting about LSVT loud and LSVT big. So really learning how to maximize your outcomes. And then in June, we'll have one on treatment of atypical Parkinsonian disorders using LSVT loud and LSVT big. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia, who's going to talk a little bit about the app and the website upgrade.
Okay, so one of the things we're going to develop or deploy, it's actually almost all developed, in 2016 is a little app. And so we've been interested in trying to come into the world of apps and have put together a system. It's quite simple. One is for people with Parkinson's disease, and it has a nice little sort of graphic, just explanation, kind of what happens to your speech mechanism when you get loud. And we hope to build into that, which is probably most important for all of us, a reminder schedule to do your homework. And so you could set that up for daily reminders on your exercises so that you can keep practicing, which we know is key to success after the 16 sessions of initial therapy are completed. With that, we're also putting together an app for clinicians clinicians. It will have some of the features of the patient app and really be just a kind of a pocket guide to help them remember all the aspects of treatment to carry out, a few clinical tools, a few visual and graphics that they can share as they're delivering the LSVT loud treatment. A huge project we're doing as well this year, and we had our launch of this project last week, is a full backwards, forwards, sideways, from scratch website upgrade. This will take about 6 to 9 months to build, so our launch is going to be late 2016, but we hope to have a much improved clinician search tool to get multilingual so that our individuals with Parkinson's disease around the globe can find access more easily to clinicians in their country. Improved access for layouts so that you can find information in an easier manner. We may develop some video streaming subscriptions to the Homework Helper DVDs. We recognize that the DVD player is going out and eventually probably won't exist anymore. So we want to begin to make that transition to the streaming technology. And in all honesty, we would love to hear from you. If you spent any time on our site, excuse me, or you have, ideas of what you would love to see on a site for an organization such as ours that offers the services we do, let us know. You can email ideas to us at info@lsvtglobal.com, or as you close out of this webinar at the end, there'll be a short 6-question survey that you can complete, and in there is an opportunity as well to give us some ideas of what you would like to see or have available to you on our website. Laura, do you want to pick this back up, or would you like me to continue?
Maybe you should continue. My voice is kind of giving away a little bit.
No problem. Laura woke up today with a bad cold, and so she's being heroic, but I understand the voice can go. So, okay, the other thing that we're really fully engaged on are our follow-up maintenance programs. And many clinicians for years have been offering group exercise classes after the individual treatment of LSVT Big or LSVT Loud is over. So Big for Life, Loud for Life does not replace receiving the individual treatment. However, sometimes it's nice to have the motivation of a group to keep practicing once treatment is over. While many clinicians have been doing this for years, they have been asking us as an organization to give them some guidance and see how perhaps we could make them more standardized around the country and around the globe. So we are in the process of doing that so that we can give our clinicians guidance, or perhaps the clinicians who've not yet launched into these groups will have the confidence to do that. So these will be post-discharge maintenance groups. We've done a pilot launch of a test group for LSVT Loud that's ongoing. We're in phase 1 of training our LSVT Big and LSVT Loud clinicians how to do Big for Life or Loud for Life. Those launch trainings will happen in spring of 2016. In phase 2, we're going to assess the results and expand access to all LSVT Loud, LSVT Big clinicians, probably through an online training course. And in about the time that our new site launches in late 2016, you'll be able to search the clinician directory to find a group near you. So we're pretty excited about getting this program fully off the ground and out into the hands of our certified clinicians. Another exciting development is the launch of our LSVT Big Homework Helper DVD Volume 2. And so our current volume demonstrates the exercises in a standing position as well as standing with some adaptations. But we've been having many clinicians ask us, can we have these in a seated and supine adaptations? And this may be for people who have more balance problems or more advanced Parkinson's disease. So 2 weeks ago in Denver, we recorded that. We have Jenny Tacito, our physical therapist, who we call our talent, and she was part of the previous DVD and this one as well. Myself, Laura, as well as another colleague, Heather Cianci, pictured here, all participated. We have our wonderful volunteer, Bob, gentleman with Parkinson's disease in Denver, who came in and helped us with the filming as well. So it's also going to include a special chapter for caregivers with sort of tips and ideas to help in assisting with LSVT big exercises, some tips for helping cueing. We'll have new pictures of the exercises for LSVT big certified clinicians to use, and it should be ready for release probably in the third quarter of 2016, if not sooner. So stay tuned for that. And a little sneak peek into 2017. I hope you can appreciate our 2016 is pretty full with some ambitious projects, but we're also going to look towards and start our initial planning to revise and update the LSVT Loud Homework Helper DVD, as well as to revise and update the LSVT companion system. The current systems work great, but as new technology comes online, we just want to keep up, and so we're going to be looking into some system upgrades in that respect. A few other elements before we conclude today. One is, if you've not contacted or interacted with an LSVT Loud or LSVT Big therapist, how do you get started? It's helpful to ask your doctor for a referral for a prescription, and it can be for speech or physical and occupational therapy, an evaluation and treatment. You can then look at our website, as we demonstrated earlier, to find a clinician in your area, or you can call our office to help locate a clinician. We also have the Homework Helper DVDs available to you that can introduce you both to the voice exercises or the LSVT big exercises. Those are available for purchase both on our website as well as through Amazon. And a helpful hint, Amazon has much better shipping rates. When you interact with potential providers, these are those 5 key questions I alluded to. You may want to know, how many people have you treated using LSVT Loud or LSVT Big? Not that new clinicians aren't great. They have fresh knowledge. They're excited, but that's a nice question to ask. You know, what are your typical outcomes? Do you have a follow-up maintenance plan? Is your certification current? And here's the most important, do you deliver gold standard dosage? And that is 4 days a week for 4 weeks, 60-minute individual sessions with daily homework and carryover assignment. Any deviation from that is no longer LSVT treatment. And so be true to that protocol, and don't go to a therapist who says they can only do it 2 days a week. You will not get the outcomes, you will be disappointed, and you are not fundamentally receiving LSVT. So advocate, and if you need us at LSVT Global to help advocate for you, we are more than happy to do that. Okay, so let's now open it up and see if there's any questions from the audience. And again, you have the ability to either on your control panel raise your hand and ask a question, or you can simply type a question in, and we'll see that question here and can be able to answer that for you as well. As we wait for a moment to see if questions come in, I will bring up one very common question that we have from individuals with Parkinson's disease, family members, care providers. And that is, will anybody pay for it? And so is LSVT therapy reimbursable? And the answer is yes. If you have policies that have speech, physical, or occupational therapy included, and certainly this includes Medicare, LSVT is simply the type of therapy that's being provided. So there is no reason to expect that your treatment cannot be covered. There are some smart things to do. Discuss the policy and be sure you have coverage. If you're a Medicare recipient, you might check how much service has been used to be aware of the caps. There are exceptions that can be written to those caps, and so talk with your therapist about that. Also recognize that when denials come, oftentimes they are easily appealed. And so don't panic if that happens. Rather, work with your clinician. Sometimes it's simply a mistake of coding. Sometimes the clinician needs to be better at how they write their goals and outcomes. And the bottom line is, if the therapist documents care, no matter what treatment you're receiving, then reimbursement should follow. We also offer for our certified therapists additional webinars and services so that we can help them be sure that they're putting out their documentation, documenting the care they've provided to the best of their ability. That also helps facilitate insurance reimbursement. Okay, so I see that we have no additional questions. So with that, I think we will go ahead and wrap up today's program. We hope that this has been useful to you. You've learned a little bit more about the services LSVT Global provides. Hopefully you'll take advantage of additional webinars. We're here to help. Please provide any comments and suggestions. And as you close the webinar, that survey will launch. We welcome your feedback. We look forward to interacting with you as 2016 proceeds. So thank you for joining us and have a great day.